meow. Meow, meow, meow. Feels so empty without me. Today is Sunday, August the 9th. It's 10 a.m. It's coffee with Frankie. And as always, let's start out with a little theme song music, shall we? All right. All right. All right. All right. Testing, testing, testing. Plug that in there. Testing. We got a problem. And testing. Hmm. Uh, okay. All right. I think we're back. Uh, okay, that's working. It's been a little while. It's been a little while. We got to get used to streaming again. How are you guys in the chat? We're back. Football's back, and Phil Adams is here. Deuteronomy's here. Uh, Deuteronomy says, yeah, changing of the schedule. Party with Paganardi's here. Music on mute. All right, I'll have to check on that later. Todd's here. Audio, picture, theme tune. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that one. All right. So we're back. It's Sunday, August the 9th. Football is almost here. Basically, training camp getting started. Everything going well as far as that is concerned. And we got joint practices coming up this week, and then we got an actual game on Friday. Friday night, we got our first preseason game. There'll be 3 of those, and that's that. Mark Sachetti says, please let's not go chasing the Baker to Jets chatter. I don't know what that means, but, if Baker becomes available, of course the Jets should pursue him, but he's probably not going to become available. But if he is, of course we should pursue him. Why not? He's a great quarterback. Why wouldn't we pursue him? But he's not going to probably become available. I don't think the Bucs are going to let him go, so we don't really have to worry too much about that one. But we'll see how that proceeds. I think they'll sign him. I think they'll just sign him. I'm okay, but the money has to be right. I say you give him whatever he wants. 50 mil reasons. Yeah, when you have a big contract, it makes it easier to get other players because then you can manipulate your cap with that. So he's worth 50 million. He absolutely is. And it actually helps your cap because then you can spread the signing bonus out long term. That's what's good about having a rich owner like Woody Johnson. He can write those big fat checks. So we don't have to worry about that. Question is, do you want Baker on your team? The answer is yeah. Yeah, we'd go get him. Make our team that much better. He's only 32 years old, keeping in mind. Yeah. But the idea is that, the Bucs, because what are the Bucs going to do? He kind of has them in a corner, right? What else are they going to do? Because they're probably not going to stink terribly this year. They may not make the playoffs, but they're probably not going to be at the top of the draft this year because Baker's playing for them this year, right? So they're probably not going to be able to get the top pick at quarterback. So if they let him go, what are they going to do? Sign Geno? Which if we sign Baker, they would sign Geno. That's not a great solution for them. Because how many more years does Geno have? And then, so they're going to sign him or tag him. Maybe they tag him. But yeah, I would prefer that we draft our own. No, deep dive analytics show is starting to fade. Well, that's the second part is completely wrong. So if you're going to come here and say things, you should be ready to be called out if they're wrong. So that's stupid. And then secondly, drafting our own, how has that worked out? You have no idea who's going to be available next year. You have no idea how they're going to do. You have no idea what's going to happen. Trevor Lawrence, for example, was the greatest prospect in a whole generation, and he's turned out to be okay. So yeah, we could draft our own, and you'll get your hopes up high, but you have no idea how a young quarterback's going to do, even if his name is Arch Manning. Arch Manning has a lot of improving to do if he wants to be a top prospect, and if he doesn't improve this year, he's going back to school. Then you got Dante Moore, all right, and then after that, they all have major questions. Even Dante Moore has major question marks. So you can get your own, but it's very, very hard to hit, even on top prospects, as we've seen all throughout the history of the NFL. So you could prefer to take a lottery ticket. I'd rather have somebody who actually knows what they're doing and you know what you're going to get out of them. Me personally, I kind of have been shifting more toward the veteran market myself. I'd rather have a guy who knows what he's doing and you know what you're going to get out of him. And then you have the other side of it, which is, look, if you get yourself a veteran quarterback and you're just spending money, and we have plenty of cap space, we don't have to worry about that at all. We have tons and tons of cap space next year and going forward. And we got people to sign, but it's no problem. Um, so why not focus your draft on improving the team significantly everywhere else, and then put a nice veteran in, surrounded by an amazing team? That's what Seattle did. Sam Darnold last year led the league in turnovers. Was he better than he was with the Jets? Yeah. Significantly? No. He's pretty much the same guy, but the team around him was amazing. Why not improve your team to wherever you have an amazing defense, incredible offensive line, incredible wide receivers, everything around. Then you take a veteran who's good and put him in a really good situation. That to me seems like a much better strategy than just a complete roll of the dice with these quarterbacks coming out of college. They're hard to hit on. It's been proven over and over again. Really hard to hit on those guys. And if you hit on them, they probably take a long time to really reach their potential. Has Trevor Lawrence, for example, reached his potential? What about C.J. Stroud? He started out so hot as a rookie. Where's he going? No bueno. All these guys. Bryce Young, he's not going to make it. I don't think. Caleb Williams, got to improve a lot. I mean, it's pretty risky. Seeing Ghost is here. He's a member of the Inner Circle. You could be a member of the Inner Circle and you'll get extras, the likes of which you've never seen anywhere before. We're going to have so much stuff coming out this year that it's not even funny. And speaking of quarterbacks, it's going to be very quarterback focused. So just so everyone knows, I've been focusing on the quarterbacks in sort of evaluating them on the professional level, and then we're going to do college level. So I'm going to have pretty strong opinions about quarterbacks based on my own scouting and system. So I'll know all about them through watching and grading them. And the beneficiaries of that are going to be the members of the Inner Circle. So sign up for that down below, and you'll get to see what I'm talking about. All right. Now, we do have some columns that came out today. We do. First one, Rich Cimini has a column out right here. You got it right here. Rich Cimini, number 2 pick, David Bailey, living up to the hype, bringing juice to the Jets. So Rich Cimini wanted you to know. Oh, now I see why that audio didn't work. Oh, all right. Well, that's good. David Bailey living up to the hype, bringing juice to the Jets. So he writes this whole column about how quick David Bailey is. This is a man who makes millions of dollars working for ESPN, and he's writing a column that David Bailey is fast. Wow. Shocking. So he has quotes from Olu Fashanu. He talks about his 10-yard split. That's basically the gist of this article here. Speed and deficiency, talks about how smart he is and all this. And he wants to mirror Von Miller. That would be nice. Talks about how he went to Mater Dei. So Mater Dei is the perennial powerhouse high school in Southern California. That is true. There he is. And then basically just grabbing quotes from the press conferences they've had in the last few weeks. And the big thing he did is he went and talked to Texas Tech defensive coordinator Sheil Wood. Okay. Huge hands. Then he went back to the coach of Mater Dei High School and talked to him and got some quotes from him. Said David just had that ability to just turn a football game, could destroy, blah, blah, blah. Then he went to back to Stanford. And that's the article. That's what Rich Zamini makes millions and millions of dollars to do, is to tell you David Bailey is fast. And all these people say, yeah, he fast. He's strong. He got big hands. He got it all. He good. Crazy. Deuteronomy is talking about season ticket holders. Yeah, they're constructing a new facility there. But fortunately, there's another person who writes a column, and that's old Frankie. So I would say check out Chemtrails. We got a column, the Frankie column, over at Substack.com, Frankie from Flatbush.substack.com. And to incentivize you guys even further, if you sign up for Chemtrails and you're a subscriber to this channel, you could win either let's make up a prize right now, a bobblehead, a Garrett Wilson bobblehead, or a Geno Smith bobblehead, or perhaps you're into DK Metcalf. We got these bobbleheads, the Funko type, and I'll give away one of those to one lucky winner once we get up to 100 subscribers over at Substack. So you sign up, you give the email address because it's got to come into your email. Wherever you live, that's where it goes. And as far as email's concerned, and look, you sign up, once 100 people get there, you could get a nice prize for yourself. So here's today's column. The 2026 plan is coming together nicely. The Lou and Boo show, we talk about Olu and Mambu and everybody giving some props. So in case you missed it, Brandon Thorne has Mambu rated number 4 overall right tackle in the league this year. Pretty sweet. Pretty good. And he's got Fashanu over at 13th. So pretty good. Looking pretty good for our tackles. So forth and so on. Now, then I talk about some trade wins possibly blowing. And talking about the Cowboys. The Cowboys are still trying to fix their defense. And all of the knowledgeable people around the Cowboys are saying, yeah, they're still looking to improve even after the draft and after free agency and all. And even Jerry Jones has said, hey, I'm willing to trade still. Yeah, made a bunch of trades. We have some of their picks going on. But that doesn't mean we can't make further trades with the Cowboys. Well, how does this pertain to the Jets? Well, they're looking for pass rush and they're looking for corner help, perhaps. So I say, what about Will McDonald? I mean, he's less of a priority for us. Maybe we don't want to pay him a long-term contract due to his problems against the run and so forth. So maybe we package him up with Brandon Stephens. Now, why would Brandon Stephens be included? Well, Brandon Stephens is a guy that the Cowboys had their eye on when he was a free agent. And here's Mike Fisher, the respected beat reporter for the Cowboys, long time covering them over 30 years. And he says that they put in a large bid for Stephens in free agency, and they lost out to us, obviously. So that tells you that Will McClay, their real general manager, really likes Brandon Stephens. They wouldn't have put in a large bid if they didn't like him. And so we know that they like him. Anybody who wants pass rush is going to like Will McDonald. So you package them up, and we should be able to get a good deal. Now, this is predicated on a couple of things happening for us. You know, A.Z. Thomas has to perform well, Nashawn Wright, and Pons once he gets back, D'Angelo Pons. And so we have to feel comfortable letting Stephens go, for example. And we got to get Osai back in the fold here. He's got that minor injury. And we got to feel good about him and Enagbare and, obviously Bailey to let Will McDonald go. And most importantly, the Cowboys have to lose out on Max Crosby because the guy that they want is Max Crosby. And so, they're going to try to get him. It's an open secret. They want Max Crosby very badly. He fits them perfectly, both from a play style perspective and just a superstar perspective. He's a big, big name. That's really good for the Cowboys brand. So that's what they would prefer to do. But, assuming they lose out on that for some reason, the Raiders don't want to give him up, et cetera, they could turn to us and then get a twofer. And if you can get a twofer, that's good. And then we would obviously have to replace these people. And Will McDonald would be someone we'd probably replace in the draft. Here are some choices here. You can see Dylan Stewart, South Carolina, is a top guy, an edge that we could take a look at. Somebody like a Colin Simmons from Texas. And we should be watching the college football, of course, always, because it's fun, number one. But also this year, a lot of prospects to look at. The quarterbacks, maybe, depending how things go with us. Manning, Moore, and so forth. Wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith could be an option for us. Here's C.J. Carr, third quarterback, if he develops nicely. And then wide receiver again, Cam Coleman. So Texas is a great team to keep an eye on. Oregon, Ohio State, the big teams. South Carolina is going to be interesting this year because of Lenora Sellers, amongst others, and one of them being Dylan Stewart. How's he looking? So, the idea being let's load up on draft picks and then really load up on young talent for next year, and we'll figure out quarterback as the year goes on. Then we talk about Kenyon, Sadiq, and some of the platoon stuff here. And then we talk about the quarterback landscape. So you may be wondering, hey, what about backup quarterback? I mean, Cade Klubnik isn't lighting it up. He's up and down. He does some good things, does some bad things. And so what if we want to improve that situation and make Klubnik number 3? Or is there any opportunities around the league that we could make some waiver claims on? And so the first one I identified in the column, Pittsburgh Steelers. So Will Howard could be the odd man out. I would put the waiver claim interest 6 out of 10 for me. Well, what about the Tennessee Titans? We got Cam Baby, Hans Ward, and Mitch Trubisky in there. What about Will Levis? They might sever Mr. Levis from their roster. I would be very interested in that. I say 9 out of 10 on that one. Will Levis, a lot of traits, has some experience starting already. Guy got injured. Yeah, that'd be a nice dart throw. Again, waiver claim. Don't got to give up much for a waiver claim. Then you got the Minnesota Vikings. So we got a crazy thing going on in Minnesota where it looks like they're going with tiny Kyler Murray. And then they also have crazy Carson Wentz on their roster and also Max Brosmer. So perhaps they're ready to give up already on J.J. McCarthy, 9 as he calls himself. But I think that's a crazy thing to do for them, but they might do it. What are they going to do? Carry 4? Well, they could get rid of Brosmer maybe, but maybe they're sick and tired of J.J. McCarthy and 9 and the memes, and they like Kyler Murray for their long-term situation anyway. Where they're thinking, all right, we like what he's looking like, and maybe we'll give him a long-term contract. No room for J.J. McCarthy. If they waived McCarthy, it's hard to believe that they would. But if they did, we should have 10 out of 10 interest in that gentleman. Cleveland Browns. Well, what about the Browns? I mean, it seems like Deshaun Watson and Shador Sanders are neck and neck, and they also drafted Taylen Green. So what about Dylan Gabriel? After all, they used a 3rd-round pick on him just last year. And, wouldn't he be a good backup? Because after all, he is a check-down Charlie. A guy who just makes the plays that need to be made. He has some athleticism to him. He has some upgrade to him because he's a young fella, played a lot of games in college. You see him here with Oregon. Now, he doesn't have the upside of some of the other guys, so my interest would be less. I say 4 out of 10 interest. Just because he doesn't have the upside, he's going to ultimately wind up probably being a QB3 in the league. But he can do some of the things. He can be a check down Charlie. He can do some of that. Well, what about the Dallas Cowboys? They're going for the Super Bowl this year, and behind Dak Prescott, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, you got Bazooka Joe Milton and Sam Howell. What are they going to do with Sam Howell? Just keep him as QB3 or even Bazooka Joe? Well, they might want to let one of them go because, sometimes you keep three quarterbacks, sometimes you keep two. And if they let either one of those guys go, they have some good potential. I would say 6 out of 10. Well, what about the Philadelphia Eagles after all? They have a situation with Jalen Hurts and Andy Dalton. Then behind them, they got Tanner McKee, and they drafted Cole Payton. So they're probably not going to keep 4. I mean, the best odds of a waiver claim is probably with these quarterbacks with 4, though they might be able to make a trade with somebody, I guess. But you got Tanner McKee and Cole Payton. They're probably not going to waive Cole Payton. They just drafted him. And Tanner McKee is going to be a free agent. So it seems to me that McKee is the one. And that would be a nice little waiver pickup. There's old Cole Payton, in case you've never seen him. So especially if they let Tanner McKee go, I'd be 7 out of 10 interested in him. Smart guy out of Stanford. He's tall, so that's good for some of the people who like tall people. But, hey, get him on your team, see if you like him. Maybe give him a little contract for next year. Who knows? Nice little dart throw. Jelani Woods, blocking tracker. So Coach Glenn told us to keep an eye on Jelani Woods, so I did. I watched him against the Saints. I thought he had 4 out of 4 great blocks. 100% great block rate. So maybe that's the key for Jelani Woods. If Jelani Woods becomes a great blocker, man, that's valuable. Plus, he's big and athletic, too. If he can catch the ball and become a great blocker, wow, what a great waiver claim that will prove to be. So now you have this prediction market, David Bailey for Defensive Rookie of the Year. This is interesting because somehow David Bailey's odds have increased significantly since I put this up a couple of days ago. I finished writing this column, and I put in this Polymarket thing here. And Bailey used to be second to Payne. Now, all of a sudden, some reason, he's number 1. So I guess people are liking what they're hearing about David Bailey. So that's interesting from from what a perception of our players' perspective is, And David Bailey, as of right now, as of today, 18%. Ruben Payne, who I love, 14%. Arvell Reese, who I like a lot too, and Sonny Stott. I like all these players, to be honest. But right now, according to Polymarket, David Bailey leading the pack as far as Defensive Rookie of the Year. So that's kind of interesting. Not too shabby. So that's the chemtrails column. Which column is better, Frankie column or Cimini column? We got the Cimini column telling you Bailey is fast, and then Frankie column got all this stuff in it. I don't know. Maybe Cimini does. Maybe Cimini's better. I don't know. I mean, he makes millions well, he does work for ESPN, and when he calls people up, they call him back. So I call people up, they're not calling me back. I don't work for ESPN. JoJo's here. JoJo was a man from Tucson, Arizona. Get back, JoJo. JoJo is here. JoJo says Jets should look to move on from McDonald. Plenty of good edge players in the next draft. Plus, they have 3 firsts. Yeah, this is my thinking, JoJo. Now's the time to really pounce if a team like the Cowboys really wants to pay. Now, we're not going to sell him for pennies on the dollar. He has value. Okay? Everybody needs pass rush. The Cowboys are in their Super Bowl window. You want to go to the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott? Okay, you better get that defense up to snuff. And they've been trying, to improve it. But they maybe need a couple of more pieces. I mean, Brandon Stevens, They have Duran Bland coming off of 2 years of major injuries, and they have Kobe Durant, who's okay. They may want a third guy in there just for safety's sake, not playing safety, but just to be safe about it, because they're trying to go to the Super Bowl. They have Dak Prescott, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. When you have that, you're in your Super Bowl window, and they've been very disappointing as far as their standard is concerned. Over these last few years, after all, they haven't been to the Super Bowl since the 90s, so as far as I can remember, which is a long time. So they should maximize this time that they have with Dak, and so they should be aggressive. They said they're going to be aggressive. I think that Jerry Jones was talking about Max Crosby for the most part, but there's no guarantee they can get Max Crosby. Sure, they'd prefer Max Crosby over Will McDonald. Who wouldn't? But maybe they can't get him. And maybe they come back to us, and then they say, all right, Will McDonald fills a pass rush need, and we can get Brandon Stevens. Okay, like him, and we'll give you guys tons of draft picks. Draft pick package, and then we just, continue to use those. And that's that. Bad luck having 3 rookies with injuries. Hope they get back healthy soon. Yeah. Well, injuries are injuries, and it is really just bad luck. If you look around the league, we're actually doing pretty good compared to some of these other teams. The Panthers had some terrible luck. The Panthers, man, I thought they were really primed to be an improved team, and then you got Bryce Young, and it's like, well, he's going to hold them back probably. But nonetheless, they were building a way for him to at least be somewhat good. And then one of my favorite draft picks this year, Chris Razzle Dazzle Brazzle, goes down, and he's out for the year. And then they had one of their tackles got blood clots in the lung or something. He's probably out for the year. And then other people got in. All these people are getting injured and out for the year. So these minor injuries, we should cross our fingers. Thank God. Nothing too major yet anyway for the people who matter. Now, the interesting injury that we do have, interesting to me, is VJ Payne is going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. So if they put him on PUP, that means we could maybe sign a safety like a Kenny Moore type. But remains to be seen if they do that. So Mark Scischetti wants to say, advanced analytics on Baker Mayfield do show a stark statistical drop-off in his recent production through film and contextual data. Injuries are getting worn down. So when you say advanced analytics, you have to tell me what that means. What advanced analytics? And for what time period? Deuteronomy, I think clubs should play a lot in preseason, not at all during regular season. Give them at least one true redshirt year. Yeah, exactly. Oh, PFF passing grade? Yeah, that's not advanced analytics, bro. Sorry. Can Mougey pull another trade to solidify the backup center position? Seems like an issue in camp. Well, teams generally don't want to trade you good centers, so probably not. But don't forget, our backup center is Joe Tippmann, probably. Seeing Ghosts. Agree about the Jets trying veteran quarterbacks. Jets' window for success won't match with a kid we have to wait on for the. Yeah, right. Sick of waiting. Yeah, that's the other problem with a kid. You never know when they're going to become good, even if they are going to become good. I mean, look at Bryce Young. He's still not good. Trevor Lawrence is average to below average. And it's 4 or 5 years with these guys, or some of them. So even if they become good, you may have to wait 4, 5, 6 years. Who has time for that? Just get a veteran like Baker, who's excellent. And yeah, the only knock on Baker, I would say, is he does get beat up with injuries, but he plays. That's the interesting thing about Baker. Last 3 years, he hasn't missed a game, but he plays banged up. we all know he has these little minor injuries. So you worry about that because his play style is very, very aggressive and fierce. But I would say for us, that's a risk that I'm that's worth taking. So that's what I would say about that. I mean, I think I think everybody should really look at the Seattle Seahawks as the model, and they shouldn't look at it like, "Wow, look at how much Sam Darnold improved." He improved certainly from his Jets time for sure. He improved, but really that team was loaded. They had the number one defense in the league per DVOA. They had incredible running game with K9 and Charbonnet, who's also excellent. They had a really good offensive line, not top of the league, but good. They worked on that to solidify it over the years. They had everything you need. They had tight ends. They had one of the best wide receivers in the league, JSN. They had good tight end play. They had everything. And you drop Sam Darnold in there, and yeah, he's kind of the same Sam Darnold. He led the league in turnovers, but it didn't matter because the team was still so good. So why not just drop a good, solid veteran into a really good situation, and the situation will sort of raise the solid quarterback that can perform at least at an average to above average level if you give him the right circumstances. And so to me, that's the way to do it. And then at the same time, you could do what we're doing with Klubnik. We're just developing Klubnik in his own time, however long it takes. And maybe he develops and maybe he doesn't, but it's not a big deal either way. If he does, it's wonderful and we throw a party. But if he doesn't, it's no big deal. We wasted a couple of fourth round picks on him. So what? That's worth it to develop a quarterback who has a lot of promise. So I kind of like this. I kind of like this way about going about it, you know? So, if that's the way the Jets are going to do it, it's going to be interesting. Well, the interesting thing is going to be if Geno performs the way I think he's going to perform, which is basically the Seattle level. What would the Jets do? Because you're starting to see a lot of these quarterbacks play a lot longer than they used to. Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, even Phillip Rivers came back last year off his couch. So some of these guys are playing into their 40s. Geno's 36. Why can't Geno be our quarterback for 5 years, 4 or 5 years, if he performs at the Seattle level? All the while, you can behind him, you can still draft quarterbacks, but you can take dart throws. You can take second, third round dart throws with guys who may take some time. I mean, Lenoris Sellers, for example, he could slip to the second round. It's going to depend how he performs this year, but it's possible he slips to the second round. And what if you use your 3 first rounders to bulk up everywhere else, and then you take Lenoris Sellers knowing you're going to have to sit him, and he's your QB3, and he sits and he learns, and now you have 2 young quarterbacks behind Geno just in case, and they're both learning and developing at their own pace. And if they develop, great, and if they don't, okay, we didn't waste premium draft capital. And all the while, you could hopefully, with a talented team and a steady Eddie quarterback, be making playoff runs and things and be relevant again. I mean, I don't see why we can't do that. So that's really the way I would prefer to go. These young QBs, yeah, you could sell hope. I mean, that's the thing with these young QBs out of the draft. You just start selling hopium. And so some fans love the hopium. Hey, this guy could be, the next Josh Allen. Well, there's very few next Josh Allens. They said the same thing about Anthony Richardson. Now it looks like he's not going to do much in Indy. I don't know what they're going to do with Mr. Richardson over there. And a lot of these young guys, they just don't live up to the hype. Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, Josh Rosen, all these high picks, and they just don't work out. Zach Wilson, of course, now he's on to his third quarterback guru. Think about Zach Wilson. Could we have built a better team around Zach? Yes. Should we have drafted him where we drafted him? No. But he is talented. And then he went to Sean Payton. Everybody said, oh, Sean Payton's going to fix him. No, Sean Payton got rid of him after a year. Then he went down to Mike McDaniel. They said, oh, Mike McDaniel will fix him. Don't worry. No, Mike McDaniel got rid of him. And now he's over with New Orleans, and now they're saying Kellen Moore, the paper boy, he's going to fix him. I mean, how many offensive gurus are going to fix this guy? He's still not fixed. So you just never know. And Zach has as much arm talent as anybody. Think about it. He has great arm talent. Well, he's still not a good quarterback. He's going to be quarterback 3 in New Orleans behind Spencer Rattler. Interesting. Spencer Rattler went in the 4th or 5th round, and he actually was developing nicely down in New Orleans. Now, Tyler Shuck also developed. So they got super lucky. Now they have 2 young guys who they can play. Rattler started out really bad, terrible. I thought this kid's going to be out of the league in 2 years. No, they kept playing him, and he slow and steady, got better and better and better. I thought he was getting a lot better by the time they yanked him. They kept losing, so they said, all right, we're losing. We got to try out this Shuck guy. And Shuck played well, sort of like right off the bat. So, man, New Orleans got lucky. But a guy like Rattler with a lot of talent, you grab him in the 5th round, and he could develop. You never know. These guys, you have no idea. Now, I think I'm going to have a good idea with my new system, but it just goes to show the NFL really, it's really like a conflict because a lot of the coaches in the NFL have to do everything they can to save their jobs. That's the problem. Very few coaches can really think long term because long term they're going to get fired. And so they have to think short term, which is not great for the franchise, especially with these quarterbacks that are so important to success. And so they may make short term decisions that aren't in the best interest of the quarterback or the franchise, but it's in their best interest because they're trying to keep their job. So that's a little bit of a problem there. But, yeah. So I kind of like this idea of let the veteran carry you to winning and then develop youngsters behind in a stress-free environment where they can develop at their own pace. We tried to throw them in the fire approach with both Darnold and Zach. Darnold did better than Zach did, I would say. But still, it didn't work. They were not, it was too much. It's a lot. It's really a lot. So better to develop in a stress-free environment, I think. That's my thoughts on it. Jojo, you wonder what Tampa would want in return for Baker if they try to. Well, if they tag him, they want to play him. Because what is their plan? Baker, I think, and the agent know they have Tampa Bay over a barrel. What is going to be their plan? If they go with trying to draft a guy, they could go back to their doldrums. Remember, Tampa Bay was a terrible, terrible franchise for a long, 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 long time. They tried Jameis Winston. They tried Vinny Testaverde back in the day. They tried all these people. Jameis was the one who was going to turn it around. He did not turn it around. Going all the way back to Doug Williams. But they could not get it together until old shady Tom Brady showed up. They stumble into shady Tom Brady, and he turns it around, does what he does, and then they stumble, and then he retires. They stumble into Baker when he was going through his odyssey that year, and they signed him for $4 million, a prove-it deal. Oh boy, what a value! He proves it, and then they give him the big contract, and now he's at the end of that contract. So what are they going to do? I mean, they stumbled ass backwards into these 2 guys. the goat, and then a really good one in Brady, in Baker. And so what are they going to do next? Try one of the college kids? I mean, that didn't work for them for a long time. They really want to go back to the dark ages. They're gonna, if they tag him, they're not gonna trade him, in my opinion. They're gonna use that as a way to try and get a longer term deal. And Baker won't like it, but he's not gonna have much choice. What's he gonna do? Retire? He was talking about the cap implications of doing that. I'm not sure about that, but that's what he has an agent for. They need to just sign him to a 4-year deal. 4 years, 50 million, 200 total. That's what they need to do. And I think that's what they will do. 4 years, 200 million. I think he'll be happy with that and move on from there. I mean, it's hard to find these guys. It's so hard to find these guys. They're going to play around with one they stumbled into. They stumbled into Baker Mayfield. 4 million they signed him for. Are you kidding me? And they're going to throw this away. He's played well for them. He's played all the games. They're going to nitpick this or that. Oh, he had a few injuries. Oh, we didn't win as much games. And meanwhile, they have Todd Bowles as the head coach, who stinks. El Stinkerino. Clever Trevor. Yeah, what about Trevor? I mean, you get the first overall pick. You get this guy that been heralded since high school, the highest rated high school quarterback ever, Trevor Lawrence. And number 2 was Justin Fields. And he's played well. I mean, he's been a starter. He hasn't gotten yanked or anything like that. So you could say maybe he was a success and he got a big contract. But he's been, at best, above average. He has not been elite. He's not been a top 5 quarterback or anything like that. And that was the best prospect maybe ever. I mean, Joe Burrow came in and started doing well, but Joe Burrow has had Jamar Chase his whole life. What a charmed life Joe Burrow has had. He has, in his last year in college, he has Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Are you kidding me? Then he gets to the NFL. He gets Jamar Chase again and T. Higgins, who's also incredible. This guy's lived a charmed life, tell you what. But, I mean, it's hard to hit. You just never know. Phil says, Braden's here. Hey, Braden from New Zealand's here. 2:30 a.m. Hey, man. He's all the way over there on the other side of the world. It's a totally different time. Sharon's here. She's part of the inner circle. You could interact with old Sharon if you would just join the inner circle. Old Man Rivers. Yeah. Braden says, my daughter woke me up. Bad dreams, I think. Well, when you're in New Zealand, you probably, have bad dreams a lot. King Chino's here. Jojo says, the only way the Jets can develop a quarterback is if they let him sit a few years and learn. New York media puts too much pressure on the young quarterback. Yeah, the New York media plus social media plus fans plus all that. That's the thing, is you have to understand that we're now in a social media era where everything is super amplified. The amplification of everything. If you're bad, everybody thinks you're the worst thing of all time. If you're good, they think you're the greatest thing of all time. So that has to be considered. I think that also lends credence to my theory of get a veteran, get a steady Eddie veteran that you at least, maybe not be elite, but at least they can be competent and do the basic stuff. And then behind them, get some promising guys that don't have to develop in the, in this media era that we're in. It's very difficult. Everything gets amplified and ramped up to 1,000,000. If you're bad, they say you're the worst thing that ever happened to anything. If you're good, they say you're the greatest thing anybody's ever seen. It's like, and that's the way it is in this clickbait world. Yeah, everything's got to be amazing or nothing. So, yeah, if that's what the Jets are going to do, I approve it. I'm hoping that Geno plays really well this year. We sign him to an extension, and then we take our quarterback sort of like where in the draft next year, wherever it's smart to take a course. So we're not desperate. In other words, next year, if we go into the draft next year, God forbid we make the playoffs. God forbid what would happen. But let's say we did, because I think we will. And we're picking in the middle. It depends where these other teams whose draft picks we have, where they end up. But we're picking in the middle of the draft. But we're not desperate to get someone because Geno's played well. He helped us make the playoffs. We signed him to a 2-3 year extension at reasonable money. We're good there. If it doesn't fall our way, or depending on who comes out, right? Like, let's say it's February of next year, and we're still, or like the end of January when these kids have to declare whether they're coming out for the draft. What if only like 2 or 3 are really viable first rounders who declare to come out? Well, we're not desperate. All right, we'll just pick other people. And we'll roll with Geno next year, and we'll see what Klubnik develops into. And maybe in the second round, we pick someone who's developmental. My favorite example is always Lenora Sellers. But it could be anybody like that. I was going to say Kevin Givens on SMU. SMU has this kid, Kevin Givens, who's hysterical to watch. But he's only a red shirt sophomore, I think, so he's not coming out. But somebody like that who just has traits that are crazy, but also it doesn't know what they're doing. It seems like a lot of these kids in college have really been influenced by Mahomes and Josh Allen, thinking they could have a play style like Patrick Mahomes and like Josh Allen. And that, I don't think that's good. Mahomes and Allen can do it, but you shouldn't use that as your model. They're very unusual people, Mahomes and Allen. So a lot of these kids, they try to do these things. It's like, man, just play the position, brother. But there's all sorts of quarterbacks like that. There's a whole list of quarterbacks who, if they play really well, they can come out. If they don't play well, they're just going back to college. Drew Mestamaker comes to mind, and a bunch of these guys. So there's uncertainty there. So there's also a lot of uncertainty there in just having a quarterback to come out of college. And then what are they going to become? Who the hell knows? So it's better to just be ready for all situations by hopefully having the vet. And we hope the vet for us is Geno. Would also make a really nice story. And we like nice stories around here. We like nice stories around here. If Geno does well, they'll sign him, draft a quarterback. Yeah, exactly. So hopefully that's the plan. And that's what I'm hoping for. And that's what I actually think will happen. So that's what my hope is. Geno plays well. We sign him. It's a great story. We make the playoffs. This is what I actually anticipate happening. Baker's nice to think about, but only if it's not Geno. So if Geno plays well, we'll just stick with Geno. We're not going to get into the $50 million waters. If you don't have to. If you could get Geno for 30, Baker for 50, Baker's better, but for our situation, I'd rather have Geno and then get another young fella. And now we had 2 youngsters developing behind Geno. And to me, that's like you got to increase your chances with these guys. It's sort of like gambling in a way. You got to increase your dart throws at the dartboard because you just never know. If you never can tell, if Trevor Lawrence hasn't been an elite quarterback, and he hasn't, and that was probably the safest draft bet of them all. Maybe somebody would say Joe Burrow because of how well he played that year in LSU with those dudes. But he was with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Imagine Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson on the same college team. It's crazy. How could Joe Burrow miss? Anybody could have. But anyway, uh, but Trevor Lawrence was the safest draft pick for a quarterback ever, maybe ever. I mean, the highest rated high school quarterback of all time. And it did nothing but do good things at Clemson, while he was there. And everybody said, okay, that's the guy. And even he hasn't been up to the expectation. Now, he had high expectations, but even he has not so far lived up to the expectations. And maybe he'll continue to get better. I suspect he will. He's got a stable situation now. Don't forget he had, people, bad coaching and people getting fired and all this early in his career. So maybe with Liam Cohen now, he can get stabilized and maybe you'll see him going up and to the right and fulfilling all of the promise that, he was supposed to. But why not just take a dart throw and let him sit and develop without the pressure and let the veteran take all the pressure. And then once the young kids, if they're ready to go, all right, then they get in there. To me, that seems like the best way to do it. I don't know. In the modern age, there was different ways to do it in the past when things were different, but that seems like the best strategy. And maybe that's what the Jets are doing. Dodes, the New Paltz legend, says competency is the road to keeping this team together. Backup rookie quarterback and shred the plan if he has to play meaningful snaps. Veteran backup. Well, yeah. So I think it's going to depend. They really want Cade Klubnik this year to win, it seems like, the QB2 job. But if, in the beginning of the year, we already have a veteran backup, his name's Bailey Zappi. And if you have to make Bailey Zappi QB2 for a while, all right, like the first 5 games, what's the big deal? Now you could go out there. Josh Dobbs is available. I just went through the quarterbacks who might get waived, so we could get an upgrade there, perhaps. Josh Dobbs is still out there. We could sign him if we're not happy with Zappi. For QB2. But it really depends on they might be comfortable with Cade Klubnik as QB2, which would be really good news. That means that Cade Klubnik is hitting all of their markers, right? He's hitting all of the KPIs that they have for him. And that would be a good thing. If you see him entrenched at QB2, that means Reich and Moose Gravy, they're liking him. They're confident in him. He's hitting all of his markers. They're saying, yep, we're comfortable. If Geno gets hurt, Klubnik can handle it. Is it a little risky? Yeah, he's a rookie. You don't know what he's going to do. But until proven otherwise, we got to just trust in Reich and Moose Gravy. But if you see them, so it's like good news and bad news, right? Like if Klubnik is the QB2, that means they're really happy with him, and that's good. That means he's developing. That means, hey, they're impressing him. He's impressing them. That's okay. So that's good news. On the other hand, no matter how much he's impressing them, he's still a rookie, and it's risky to put him in a game. So I don't know. I mean, the Vikings put Max Brosmer in a game last year, in multiple games. Flatbush Dre is here. Good to see Flatbush Dre. All right, so that seems to be it. Let me know. Last call for questions, comments, concerns. This is Sunday, the August the 9th. It's an off day today for the Jets, and then another off day tomorrow, and then they start their joint practices with Tampa Bay this week, so that should be pretty informative. And again, I would encourage folks to subscribe to Chemtrails. Frankie from Flatbush.substack.com. I'll be giving away either a Garrett Wilson Funko bobblehead or a Geno Smith one or a DK Metcalf one. Once we hit 100 subscribers here, you could win one of those bobbleheads. You want a Garrett Wilson? You want a Geno Schmitty? You want a DK Metcalf? They're hanging out over here on the shelf. I'll send one to you once we hit 100 subscribers over on Chemtrails, which is located at frankiefromflatbush.substack.com. So check that out. Deuteronomy Brosmer was awful. Yeah, that's the point. They stuck that dude in there. He started out, he got a little bit better in a couple of games, but when he first got in there, it was like, oh, boy. Like Brady Cook never got better, but Brosmer, of course, had better stuff around him. Future show, so we'll continue with the Coffee with Frankie, so we'll be back next Sunday. And then we'll probably do any newsworthy stuff, but really there's going to be more videos for the members. So join the Inner Circle also. That does cost money. So Frankie from Flatbush doesn't cost any money. You just got to give your email so that it can be sent to your email. And you can win a bobblehead if you do that once we get up to 100 subscribers. But the Inner Circle costs money. Now, we're going to be making videos for the Inner Circle members because I've been doing a ton of work this summer scouting all these quarterbacks. And the Inner Circle is going to get access to that, like the output of all that work, which will be some videos and then explaining what the sort of like the end goal of that project is, which will be very beneficial. I think we're going to see how it goes this year, and then probably next year it's going to be in full effect. But should be very beneficial to those people who are members of the Inner Circle because they're going to get exclusive videos that really should be, depending on your proclivities, should be fairly financially beneficial to those people. So also the prices may be going up. If this system works the way I think it will, the price of the Inner Circle is probably going up. So get in there now while the prices are rock bottom. Because if this system works, these videos that I'm going to be doing will become so valuable that we're going to, price is going to have to go up. So get in there now while the prices are very low. You also have access to tons of other stuff right now today. But this project I'm working on is pretty much ending by this week, and then we'll start to put together some stuff. So we'll see how this week goes. We'll see how the news goes. And otherwise, that'll be it. So we'll see you next week. Join the Inner Circle. Go to Chemtrails, frankiefromflatbush.substack.com, and I'll see you guys.